Good morning. It's September 30th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Well, the southern border and immigration in general has become a major issue in this year's campaign. We've seen multiple Democrats suddenly get concerned about the massive wave of immigrants pouring across the border, and now we're getting reports it's on the increase at the northern border. When Biden administration came into office, they were highly critical of the Trump policy, calling it much of it inhumane and repealing his stay in Mexico policy that had been negotiated with the Mexican government. The result was caravan after caravan started moving towards the border, and conservative estimates are that about 10 million people have illegally crossed the border. Now, Biden supposedly put Vice President Harris in charge of the immigration issue, and she promptly ignored it, failing to visit the border even once in her term. She was often referred to as the border czar, something her campaign has tried to dismiss, not wanting her to be directly tied to the border issue. But try as she may, she cannot ignore the problem, which polls show to be one of the top three issues in the minds of voters. Well, this week, Harris finally visited the border in Arizona and made an announcement that she would support more restrictions on illegal crossings. She would, quote, build on Biden's current policy of closing the U.S. asylum system unless illegal boarding crosses stay below the 1,500 daily crossings per week. In other words, up to 1,500 can come across every day, and that's okay. She hinted she would lower that threshold, but did not give an exact number for that policy. A subset of immigration issue has been the crimes committed by illegal immigrants. Some of these crimes have been serious, including murdering U.S. citizens. Then we have the news of Venezuelan gangs becoming very visible in several cities. Republicans have hammered this point home on the immigration issue, and Democrats have tried to rebut it by saying the crimes by immigrants are no more than those committed by citizens as a percentage of crimes. That may give them some cover, but the public's not buying it. Then came the bomb that was delivered by Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez. Just hours before Harris was visiting the border town of Douglas, Arizona, the congressman posted a letter he had received from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and that's part of Homeland Security. The letter has some damning numbers. It revealed that about 500,000 non-citizen convicted criminals are in the U.S. According to the letter, quote, as of July 21st, 2024, there were 662,566 non-citizens with criminal histories on ICE's national docket, which includes those detained by ICE and those on the agency's non-detained docket. Of those, 435,719 are convicted criminals and 226,847 have pending criminal charges. These include 62,231 convicted of assault, 14,310 convicted of burglary, 56,000 some with drug convictions, and more seriously, over 13,000 convicted of homicide. An additional 2,500 have kidnapping convictions, and 15,000 have sexual assault convictions. There are an additional 1,800 with pending homicide charges, 42,000 with assault charges, 3,200 with burglary charges, and 4,200 with assault charges, end quote. That's from the letter from the government. And these are not numbers the Harris campaign wants to come out. They don't include those illegal immigrants that got away, so they could be even higher. The American public does not believe the Biden-Harris administration has done anything to control the border. In fact, many believe they sent a signal early on that the tight restrictions of the Trump administration would be going away, and interviews with migrants heading to the border had them praising Biden. When pressed on what happened, Harris falls back on a woefully insufficient and, to be honest, untrue story about Trump killing a bipartisan bill that would have restricted border crossings. The media fails to question this narrative, and it's all well and good to debate the bill in itself. It was even only proposed this year. Democrats and their friends in the media ignored that the House Republicans passed an immigration bill right out of the box when the Congress started almost 2 years ago, only to have it completely ignored by the Democrats in the Senate. No debate, or even consideration of the bill. Harris is obviously trying to catch up on the immigration issue. In my opinion, she's not reading the public very well. She couched her words very carefully, trying to thread the needle and not anger some of her supporters on the left. At the press conference, she said, and I quote, I reject the false choice that suggests we must choose either between securing our border and creating a system that is orderly, safe, and humane. We can and we must do both, end quote. The fact remains that doing what she's saying is pretty difficult. It was also ironic that when she made those statements, she was walking along a rust-colored stretch of border wall that was built during the Obama administration. Remember how many times she's criticized border walls? Harris has flipped her position on multiple issues in the campaign. As Senator Bernie Sanders put it, she's saying what she needs to say to get elected. But on immigration, she's been long record. While the district attorney in San Francisco continued a policy of not cooperating with federal officials. That was evident when she failed to alert ICE after an illegal immigrant assaulted a pregnant woman, was convicted, served prison time, and then released. That same immigrant was later arrested on a gun charge, but she declined to prosecute and released him before alerting ICE. 3 months later, this same illegal immigrant, Edwin Ramos, killed a father and 2 sons in a road rage incident. As a state AG, Harris issued a statewide policy statement that, quote, criminal justice policy should not be conflated with national immigration policies, end quote. In other words, don't cooperate with federal officials. What I suspect Harris means when she says she wants to hire thousands of more border agents, but that would mean they could simply process the immigrants into the country faster. Here's the reality. If what the border agents are saying is true, it has been a disaster on border security, and Harris would be worse. It's been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.